everybody, it's Alyce-Kay Ruckelshaus from Threshold of Hineni, and we're going to work on the edging of all these pages for our directed journal that I'm making from packing materials. And you know, even though I'm showing this from packing materials, you could do this with any kind of paper, of course, but I just thought it'd be fun to do it using packing materials, and that's truly a junk journal. So I got out these edgings that I can use. I won't do something on every page probably, but you know, so I was just basically kind of looking for things that are in the off-white and stuff. I haven't done any coffee dyeing for quite a while, and so I really need to do some, but I don't want to put off doing this, so I'm gonna just do with what I have. So this is a little bit too wide, but I can use this in other ways. Like, for one thing, I can use it as a flip on the top of one page, or I could use it as a pocket on the bottom. I can use this by cutting it in half. I often use this, cutting it in half like that, and using it as like a tab on the side of the page if I'm going to have tabs, which I probably will. I think for a directed journal, it helps if you have things that you know where they belong, you know, to get to where you want. This would be really good also for tabs. I might cut some of it, a longer piece, to use as an edge. I'm not sure, but it would make a good tab for sure, or even a pocket. That'd be a really pretty pocket, and it would go really well with the colors of the kit. I have these, and I think that this one would be okay. This is from my Widow Ruckelshaus shop. It's fabric ribbon, and it's frayed and everything. This would be okay, but since I have this that has the brown, I think that's going to be more appropriate for this and would look better in this. I have these other fabric ribbons that I will probably use. That one might be too light, I'm not sure, but this one for sure would be really good. I might cut it in half to use as edge on here, because this is actually really wide to use as an edge. I have this, which isn't really good for an edging. Well, it could be. It could be good for an edging, I guess, if I sewed it like that. But I think I'm more likely to use it as like a belly band. So I'm going to hold on to that, keep it out because I'm going to use it someplace else, but not as edging. And then this too, kind of the same thing. This is too wide to use for edging. And this has wire in it, so when I cut it, then I pull out the wire on the sides, because I don't really want wire in it for a junk journal. The other way I could use this is as a pocket down here. And if I did that, I might leave the wire in the top, because that actually would make it stronger and help it to hold it up. I have this seam binding, which would be, or hem tape, I guess it is, which would be great along the edges. So I'm going to keep that for the edges. Let me just get rid of these things that I'm not going to use for the edges. Okay, and then I have this off-white ribbon, which would be pretty on the edge. I have this kind of, it's almost the same color as the bags, but it's got that really pretty sheen to it, so that will make a nice edge. And then I have this that has the pretty little lacy edge to it. I also have this, but like this is all that I have, so I could do one page, but I wouldn't be able to do two. And then I also have this, which I think I'm more likely to use as like one of these as a tab or something, because I think it's just too fancy for this particular journal, but we'll see. I also, one thing that I've used quite a bit on edges is some of Bill's yarn, like that. Just leave it all tangly and even tangle it up more so that it's like just on the edge, and that's really pretty, and that's really nice and soft. Some other possibilities I have, well, you can't really see this. This is just, but see, I have some of this fabric that I could cut into ribbon to use on the edge too, but I think that I have enough options to go with. Oh, one more thing that I was thinking about was some of the scraps from my scrap pile for Franken paper. I could use this on the edge of one. I could even like cut off the edge of this and make it into a ruffle, a paper ruffle to have on the edge. So those are also possibilities. Okay, and I have a bunch of other scraps too, obviously. I have tons and tons of scraps. That's, if you've done any junk journaling, you know that's one thing that you are not in short of supply of are scraps. So like I said, I don't want to put something on every edge, but I do like to have stuff on a lot of them. This is too thin, I think, for using a decorative punch on the edge. I just think it'll get crunched and everything. I just don't think that that would work. Now I will probably use the decorative punch on some of the cards and other things that are like thicker paper. Okay, so I like to sew my edges on. You don't have to. You can glue them on. But for me, I like to sew. I like the texture that it adds, and I just like to sew. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to sew. I shouldn't have pulled this in here yet. Okay, so before I start sewing, because I want to do all my sewing at once, I don't want to be pulling this back and forth, is I'm going to figure out which edges I want where. And so I think that I want something relatively wide on this first page, because see how these pages kind of stick up like here in the middle. I want something that's going to stick past those. So I'm kind of thinking maybe that would be the place to use this one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, where are my, okay, I need to get rid of some things here on my table. My sewing scissors. There we go. So I'm going to cut this one here for the front. Okay, so it's right there. I am going to go ahead and sew this one on because it has no way of, and I'm holding on to this. I can use that someplace for decoration. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and sew this one on just because it'll fall off. Here we go. Okay, so you always want to make sure that you've got the right side up. And I have this set for zigzag. I have, you can probably see the color of thread that I have. It's close to this brown, actually. It's kind of a khaki color, but it doesn't really matter. That's kind of what I use for almost everything, is the khaki color. Occasionally, like if I have something that is like white, you know, is one of the colors that I'm using, and I'm not using any brown or beige or anything, then I will change it to a white thread. Or I think I used black one time too. And I use green in my Christmas journals. But for the most part, I just use this khaki color. It works for everything. See, so that's all sewn on the edge there. So that's good. And we only had enough for this one side, so I'm not going to sew any on the back. Okay, and then I put that back in there. Okay, so the rest though, we will, oh yeah, this has kind of a crooked, so that's kind of cool. That's going to be neat. That emphasizes the crookedness of this paper. That's very cool. Okay, so the rest of them though, we're going to cut to size and we will sew them on all at once. Okay, so this one, I think this would be good for this lace edging. Yeah, I think that would be nice because I don't want to cover this design up too much since I went to the trouble of stenciling it. So I'm going to cut that here. And I'm going to assume that the other side is the same size. If not, then I can just cut off whatever is extra. Okay, and then I'm just going to tuck that right here so that when I'm ready to sew, I can just pull this page out and I've got those two pieces, one for the front, one for the back part of it, which is over here. Okay, and then I've got this. Did I have something really short that I wanted to put on here? I guess not. Wonder if I have something in my trims here that would be cool. No, really not. Okay, so I'm going to leave this for now. And actually, this already has kind of an edge here, so I think I'm just going to leave that. Okay, so here, I think that would be a good place for this brown. I should have opened this up ahead of time, you guys. Sorry. There we go. Okay, and you know, you want it to be cut straight across the top, not at an angle like we usually cut ribbon, because you just want it to be flush on the top. So I'm cutting two pieces, one for this side and one for the other side of the paper, which is in the back part of the book. It's just, you don't have to do that, but it's just easier to do it that way. Okay, and then for this stuff. That's kind of, how about this gold stuff? Okay, so I'm gonna cut one piece and then I will cut it in half so that it's long, and we'll fray it. We'll have to fray it a little bit. Okay, so right there. I love fabric ribbon, you guys. You can use it like any ribbon, and I have quite a bit in my shop, and I've got a lot more that I need to make. I have some more fabrics that I need to tear into ribbon. I also have several saris that are silk that I'll make into sari silk. If you're interested in those and you don't see them there yet, just send me a message through Etsy and ask me about them. If you have certain colors of fabric that you'd like to have fabric ribbon of, I have a lot of fabric that I'm planning to make into ribbon, and it's just going to take me a while to get up. But if you have a request, let me know, because that'll be the next one I'll do then. And I think I have them very reasonably priced. Okay, so these threads that are really obvious, we're going to pull off so that it just makes it more frayed and tattered looking. There we go. And you can save this thread if you want for messy thread. I have tons of thread for messy thread, so I'm just throwing it away. And then this one needs a little fraying on this side. So we're going to pull some of these threads off. Oh, I love all these threads sticking out. Wow, that is so cool. Those came from, see where they tore out here? Okay, so it just tore those threads right out from in there. So I'll have that with the threads hanging out. That'll be so, so cool. Okay, so we're going to put that here. Okay. Skip a couple pages. We might come back and do some of these that I'm skipping. So we don't really want to do this page because we don't want something on the edge there, because this is going to be a flip out. So maybe we'll go ahead and do this one. No, that's got this one. Okay. So this, I might sew it onto the back. So let's do this. We'll sew it on the back so that we don't cover up the design. And again, cutting two pieces, one for the other side of the page, which is in the back of the book, so they won't be together. Okay. And then I think I want something on that page. Let's go for this stuff. Here. Ooh, that's kind of cool to have that sticking up. Got a little bit of fuzz in this frayed part, so we're going to keep that. You know, you want kind of a tattered look with junk journals, shabby chic. You know, but you don't want things to be perfect. You want them to be tattered looking, and you know, like when I was doing a journal for an Abraham Bible study, you know, the thing that I kept saying was, oh, we want two of these. The thing that I kept saying was, you want it to look like it's been dropped in the mud and a camel trampled it. That was the look I was going for with that. And I think I succeeded. And it's really, really cool. It looks, you know, when things are tattered and worn, they look old and they look well loved and used. And that's kind of, you know, the look that I'm going for with junk journals. Not everybody does, but that's what I like. Okay, and then we have a short page here, so we won't do anything on that. And how about, okay, so we already used that. Let's use this. And we're really close to the center, so we already used that. Okay, so I'm going to use some of this. This is some more of the fabric ribbon from my shop. And if I run out of this and you want some, let me know, because I have a whole bunch of this fabric. Most of these I have. When I buy fabric specifically to make fabric ribbon, I buy at least 3 yards and sometimes 5. Like the saris are 5 yards long. So that's a, you know, 5-yard piece of ribbon of silk usually. So they're nice long pieces, so you can do a lot with them. You can ruffle them if you want to, because there's plenty there to do that, or use them on edges like this. You can use them in your little girl's hair. You can use them for wrapping presents, you know, just all kinds of stuff. Hats, use them on hats. Okay, so then this center one I'm not going to put anything on for now. Okay, so I'm ready to go ahead and sew. And I forgot to look at the time when I started. Can I see the time on this? Okay, so maybe about 10 more minutes. So I may not be able to show you sewing all of these on, but that's totally okay. So what I do when I sew these is, I actually learned this from Gail Augustinelli. I learned a lot from her. Most of what I do I've learned from other people. There are some things I've made up myself, but you know, most of us learn from each other. Is I take the pages that are inside the page I'm working on and I turn them sideways so that I know where to put this page when I finish sewing the lace on it. Okay, so I'm going to sew the lace on. I'm looking for it to be right side up. I'm going to sew the lace on the edge, sticking out from the edge a little bit, but also overlapping because that brown looks so pretty through this lace. And I sew fast, and part of the reason for that is because I'm not worried about getting it perfect. Okay, we don't want it to be perfect. So then here's the other side, and rather than sewing it on this side, I'm going to sew it here so that when you're flipping through, you see it on the side that's sticking up. Again, a tip from Gail Augustinelli. She was one of the first junk journal makers that I used to watch, and Bill normally would fall asleep really quickly while he was reading in bed, even if I had a movie on. But when I had junk journal stuff on, he would watch it without, you know, he'd look like he's looking at his book, and he'd deny it sometimes, but he was watching, and he'd make comments sometimes. And if I was watching anybody other than Gail, he would always say, "Where's your buddy Gail?" He really liked her. So I usually watched her when I was in bed with him. Okay, so this one I could sew like right on the edge, which I think that's what I'm going to do, is just sew it right on the edge. Oops, it is cut a little bit short. That's okay. We'll just... I might trim off the bottom, I might not. We'll see. Okay, so I'm just going to have that right up to the edge. Okay. And use my non-sewing scissors to just trim off the bottom right there. It's kind of sad because this edge was really kind of I got that with the ink, but that's all right. Okay, and then on this side, I'm going to do it right here. Oh, that one's too short too. Wonder how I did that. So I'm just going to sew with the zigzag right down the center. So that won't stick out from the side. It's just a nice thing on the side, and I'm going to use my paper scissors again to just cut that page so that the ribbon comes all the way to the bottom. There we go. My paper scissors are so dull that they don't cut the thread, which is nice, and I still got that hanging out. I do not cut my thread flush with the paper. I let it stick out about, I think it's probably about an inch. So that it's, you know, the shabby chic look. Okay, and then this page right here. I'm going to turn this sideways so I know where it goes. I want the numbers right side up. And I think I want this piece in the front. There we go. And I'm going to let that stick out a little bit over the edge. Okay. And those nice threads are all going to be sticking out there, making it all... Bill used to say that my journals were hairy because of all the threads sticking out. Kind of funny because I tell him, well, honey, this is a common thing. It's not just my journals, but he always thought that what I did was different from everybody else's, which I appreciated about him. Let's see, I want this frayed part up at the top. Okay, and we're going to sew along here again. oh, actually I want this fraying to stick out the side, that side that's the most frayed I want to stick out from the side. So like that. Okay. Bill loved my junk journals, and he also, you know, if I was just like a little bit uptight or tense about something, he would say, why don't you go have some alone time with your sewing machine? Because he knew that always quieted me and calmed me down. Okay. So then our next one is right here. Take that out. And we're going to turn this part sideways. Now, how do I want to do this? I'm going to lose that polka dot section if I do that like that, but I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay. And I am using zigzag. It's 3.5 by 3.5 millimeters is what I've got it set to on my sewing machine. You just set it however you like it. But if you're the kind of person who needs to have measurements, that's what I do. Now this page goes kind of crooked, so what I'm doing is I'm making it straight with the ribbon. And this side is a lot shorter, so I'm going to cut off some at the end, which is fine. If this video stops, cuts out in the middle, don't worry, I'm not going to be showing anything else that's super spectacular. And if you're tired of watching at this point, that's fine. You can stop. I'm just sewing on the rest of these. And, you know, if there's any tips about the particular trim that I'm using, then I'll tell you those. But otherwise, that's what I'm doing right now. So the camera may shut off. And you won't be missing anything if it does. I won't post the rest of it unless I happen to have something really dramatic and wonderful happen or something, or come up with some really incredible tip. Then I'll go ahead and post the rest of it, and I'll tell you in the details below, but I suspect not. Okay. And after this ribbon on the other side, then I have just one more piece of fabric ribbon that we'll be using. And, you know, I like to do this just because edges of the junk journal, I mean, even when you look at it straight on, all that ribbon and lace sticking out looks really cool, but especially when you're looking at it from the side, it just looks really neat. I'll show you at the end here if my camera doesn't cut off what I mean. That, oh gosh, that didn't all catch right there. Okay, so, and it's gonna be a little wonky, but that's okay. It's a junk journal, right? Wonky is good. Can't remember who says wonky. Somebody that I watch says wonky, and I love that. Okay, and then one more, which is this one right here. Sideways. And then if the camera hasn't shut off, I'll show you what it all looks like put together. Otherwise, you'll just see it in another video. Okay. So I'm going to have that sticking out some from the side, especially because this is a small page, so it kind of allows us that opportunity to do that. But I do want to make sure that I sew it to the paper, not just sew the trim. Okay. There we go, and just one more on this side here. And then I'll show you how it all looks together. Okay. Here. Okay, so I'm going to grab all of this. Oops, oops, oops. Oh, one piece just came out. I think that goes right here. Okay, and then like this. Now I've got to get it all shuffled back together here, but so you can see how these pages, you know, they're all different sizes, so some stick out more than others. And the ribbon will really emphasize that aspect of it and make it look more shabby, which is what we're going for. Okay, so here we go. So this is what it looks like. And again, this isn't the cover. Remember that. This is going to be inside. But see, you can kind of see, you know, like all these threads hanging out and everything. And if you look at it from this way, it just looks really cool with all those pieces of ribbon and stuff sticking out. Okay, I love you all. I will talk to you later. I'll see you tomorrow. I can't remember what we're doing tomorrow, but we're going to work on pockets or belly bands or something. Anyway, I love you all. See you later. Bye-bye.